gonna like the topic you're bringing, and let the record show that I did not know what the topic was going to be today, and Dr. Forrest has forced me to not.
Well, I think we are who we say we are.
Yes.
As situating my iPad here. That works, right? You can see me. Let's go. So, we talk about being informal and informative.
Right.
So let's talk about the history of this. You and I meet through the New York Council on Problem Gambling.
Correct.
You and Michelle come into my class, Theories of Social Casework. We connect, good synergy. You reach out to me and say, hey, listen, what about doing a podcast on grief and gambling? Okay.
Right.
Okay. So we start doing the podcast on grief and gambling. Prior to the podcast, during the course of the week or the week before, we're tossing around topics. Okay. Grief and gambling, I think, is a great topic, but I think we should rebrand it.
Okay.
Look at that facial expression. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted everybody to see. Okay. That's what I wanted everybody to see.
So you want to rebrand my idea?
I want to rebrand your idea. Okay. I want to add because I think you're going to love it. Ready?
Okay. Well, okay. We'll see my other facial expression when you tell me what it is.
Well, maybe before I even do that, maybe what we should do, because we went right into it, maybe you should introduce us so people know who we are.
That's true. I mean, if you haven't been following our conversations, my name is Leilani Iser-Reed. I am with the Mid-Hudson Problem Gambling Resource Center, which is under the umbrella of the entire organization of the New York Council on Problem Gambling. And here with us we have one of our clinicians, Dr. Larry Forrest. He is one of our clinicians in the Mid-Hudson region, and this is what we do. Like he said, we have casual, informal but formal conversations about gambling, problem gambling, gambling addiction, gambling harms, however you want to name it. But we started off talking about grief and gambling, but now Dr. Forrest is gonna tell me what
rebrand or add to it, because it hit me, and I'll give you the history of how it hit me. I'm a professor of psychology at Mount St. Mary College, and I run an NIH-funded Center on Aging and Disability Policy. Over the course of years, I'm always a big believer in it's all about connections. I was hired when I was probably 23 as an adjunct at the college. And it was at Concordia College. And a fellow named Dr. Ken Doka hired me to do this. Fast forward, neither one of us are 23, 24 anymore, and we're still buddies. And he is a lead person in the area of grief and loss, nationally and internationally. Joan Kaplan and the Kaplan Family Foundation, who have been wonderful to many people, and entities, the college, nonprofits. I mean, and Joan came up with this idea a couple of years ago called No Boundaries, in order to do like a training or a symposium at the college. The first one was No Boundaries, and it was about the last conversation at end of life. So Joan knows that I know Ken as a friend. So we start talking. Next thing you know, I connect Joan and Ken. Under the No Boundaries umbrella, we've put on 3 lecture series. Third one's coming up. And Ken is unbelievable. If you have any concerns about grief or loss or interest in grief and loss, you got to Google this guy. He's unbelievable. So we did the first one, and then last May, and then we did one in December about off-time deaths associated with like suicide and drug addiction and things like that, drug overdose. And we're going to come back in May, and he wants to do something on post-traumatic growth, about grief and loss, post-traumatic growth. So this has been percolating in my head. So what I would like to add, you got the rebrand thing I got, what I'd like to add to our title would be grief and growth regarding gambling behavior. Come on, give it to me. Let everybody see the facial expression. What do you think about that? But beyond, because how is it really all about grief? I mean, I practice
so I love it.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because, and the reason why I love it, because when sometimes we think about grief, we think about the end. And it's not always about the end, it's about the new beginning. Because with anything that you lose, there is a transformation a journey that you have to go through. And that transformation journey comes with the growth that into the person that you need to be. Or the space in that, if it's not a person, it's a space, it's a lot of different things. So grief and growth is actually, they go hand in hand. When something is lost or when something dies, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like an actual physical death, it could be emotional, it could be a something that you're no longer doing, but it was a part of your life and it's no longer there. There is that transformation, and that
the way you're describing it, I'm not kidding, I got goosebumps. All right,
that transformation
because here's an example. Years ago, I had a client, you'll never know, comes to me. This is when I was seeing people face to face. So I had two offices, one in Chappaqua and one a home office. So she comes to my home office in her early 40s. I meet her at the door, have a nice exchange, come into my office, which now has become a working space. The office that I'm in, I don't see clients. Like during COVID, I changed it around. And my wife, Peg, said, how are clients going to get in there? I said, they're not coming in. So how are they going to get around that couch the way I have it set? I said, because now everything is, virtual. So I meet her at the door, nice exchange. She comes into my office, sits on the couch. I give her the little clipboard that has, the identifying information, how to contact their insurance stuff, things like that. She hands it back to me. And when she hands it back to me and I look over, she immediately leans a little forward, drops her head, and lowers her voice and starts to talk in a low voice. And I said to her, whoa, you really know how to do this, or what you think this is. Look at you. I mean, she had the therapy voice, the deep, somber voice. I said, you are really good at this. I mean, the only thing you're not wearing is like a therapy uniform. How many therapists have you seen? And she said about 8. And I said, well, I have a different orientation, and it's more solution focused. And there's no reason to lower your voice and put your head down. There's no shame.
None.
What I call the landscape session, and you've heard me say this, is I say to people, the first session I meet them, let me tell you about the ground rules, the overarching principles. I'm not your hero. I can't fix you. And the reason I can't fix you is because you're not broken, because we all got stuff. And my own personal belief is the best therapist you can find is one you forget, because you get back into the rhythm of your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got this grief, you got this remorse, you're beating yourself up. Okay. So now where do we go?
We're growing.
We're growing. Okay. It's like, now what's next? So I've been thinking about this, the seed was planted as we're having this discussion about these no boundary things, forums. But you have a great idea, this grief and gambling. I'd like to add to it. And now it's referred to as grief and growth.
So this is where I see what you're doing, right? You're trying to take my idea and add to it so that
I am not taking anything. I'm not this intellectual. I'm not this synergy. Okay, I'm adding to it.
When we get big, you were like, I want my name attached to it too.
Of course, I want my name attached to it. Okay, of course. Okay, not my name, my fingerprints. Okay, of course. Okay. I mean, can you imagine what this podcast would look like if you were just sitting there talking to yourself? Hello.
It will look great.
Anybody there? Hello, can you hear me?
It's only better because you're here with me.
Well, it's because it's not just about me,
it's about the message that we're putting forth. And I think that the message of It's important to understand how grief plays a part in even every inch of our lives, and how it plays a part in addiction and what we're talking about, gambling addiction. But that is the next step, and we should always be looking for the next step to overcome, the next step to live a better life, and that comes with growth. And growth is just it is a part of that natural journey of recovery. That is the essence of recovery, is that growth, because you are no longer that person that you once were when you were knee deep in your addiction. You are growing. We are moving past that person, and we're
Right. I
learning
mean,
to go, and we're growing and loving ourselves into the new person that we're becoming.
right. And look, everything has changed, including our definite. The New York Times did an article a couple of weeks ago about the new definition of, sobriety.
Hmm.
You know, years ago, you know, if you were involved in a fellowship and you went to a fellowship meeting and you raised your hand and you said you were receiving some type of medication from a psychiatrist, some people would say, well, you're really not sober.
Right.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. We're talking about brain chemistry. And the fact is that there's a whole focus now that you and your parent organization, promote
Yeah.
MAT, medication assisted treatment. The paradigm has shifted. The paradigm is now, yes, there's one door. Abstinence. Look, I think if you ask me, abstinence and moderation, abstinence is easier because you don't have to play with this in your mind and stuff like that and trying to. But now harm reduction.
Hmm.
I told you about the story. I have a friend that shows up. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. He's different. We're having breakfast. He's different. I said, "You're different." He said, "Yeah." He said, 110 days ago, I joined AA. I said, "That's great." He said, "Well, last week I got a little high, and a couple of weeks ago I had a couple drinks." And what did I say to him? How proud you should be
Hmm.
about the changes you're making. Now, 20 years ago, my orientation would have been, "Well, you're really not sober. You're really, And what's hit me over the last couple of weeks as I'm looking at this stuff and thinking about it, including this discussion today, there's a major difference between sobriety and abstinence. I heard somebody say one time, he was working with the sponsee, and he said, sponsee said, I really want to drink. And the guy's response was, I want you to drink.
Yeah, I remember you said this in our
Right. And you
last
drink
talk.
alcohol, drink tea, drink coffee, drink water. You just can't engage with alcohol because you know where it takes you. So I think that this whole idea of
Just to
what what's
destigmatize and stop try it was like this one label
and
of what,
stop putting your head down.
or just this one label of how things, or this one pathway to recovery. There's no one pathway. It's not either or. And that if you go one route, it's considered a failure. It's not, because we can try
And
one way and we can go another way and we could try it, and then that's the process.
right. I mean, I think, look, there are options here. And I love what you said about, moving on and like rediscovery and growth. I mean, so that's why I wanted to share this with you. And I wanted to share this with you in real time because I wanted to hear your reaction, which I thought I knew what it was going to be, which is, let's go. And it also opens up the dialogue for us, to bring in other topics and bring
Yes.
in other guests and things like that.
Yeah. I am for it. So are we going to continue having this type of, I'm gonna surprise you with a topic?
Hey, it could be a jump ball. You never know. You never know. You
Which
just
is fine,
never
because
know.
I think that's the informal engagement, that we're providing in terms of knowledge and conversation. Like we have our conference coming up next month, which you will be one of our speakers,
Please,
talking
please,
about
please.
aging and gambling. But we we have this notion, something that we've always been done, and there's room for it. There's always room for every avenue. So we have these speakers who come and they talk at people, right? They talk at people, and we're not providing, not saying we're not, because we do have the GA and the Gamanon sessions that happen, and people are able to engage in conversation throughout the conference. But in real time, and there's just real everyday life, we don't give ourselves enough time to have conversations so that there's shared ideas, there's shared knowledge, right? What do you know that I may not know? And how can I find it? Or how can I, how, and I think my shift in the work that we're doing in the Mid Hudson is really just having those conversations. What is it? What is it that you may know or you don't know? And what do you want to know? And what knowledge can I impart? And what knowledge can you impart on me? Because there is no one way of thinking and doing. There's many
Look,
ways to
right, we're all individuals,
all individuals.
and look, in working with individuals that are wrestling with, this whole idea of, you know, this, can I say, it's an obsessive behavior, OCD behavior. It depends on the school of thought. What's this all about? But there shouldn't be no shame, no stigma. The one thing I'll never ask any of my clients I'm working with is when they start talking about engaging in gambling behavior,
Mm,
is how much, and they start talking about losses. I'll never ask them how much.
mm,
It's not about the amount, it's about the behavior. Okay. Because if you start to really get into how much, then, the guilt, the shame, the remorse, and everybody, puts their head down. This is not about, how much, it's about what's next.
right. What is next? What is next? Well, I have my topic for the next session, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to
Don't
say it
tell me.
out
Don't
loud.
tell
I'm
me.
not
Don't
going to
tell
tell
me.
you.
Don't
I'm
tell
not
me.
going to tell you.
Unleash it on me when we get together.
I'm not going to tell you.
All
But
right.
my idea, this is something I do want to do, and because we will both be at, oh, I apologize for the ding, but the we will both be at the conference next month, which is March 5th through the 7th, I
Yep.
believe it is. Um, we will both be at the conference, and I'm thinking that we should do our next conversation at the conference.
Let's go. All right. And we can have people. I'll ask my friend and colleague, Jim Ball, to join us. He's
Yeah.
involved as the co-founder of the National Organization of Adult Addictions and Recovery, NOAR.
Yep.
He's going to be presenting with me on this intersection program that we've developed. So let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
We will reconvene and we'll have this recorded and uploaded on our YouTube channel, coming from the and New York Council on Problem Gambling's annual conference in Albany. So
Beautiful.
I will.
All right. Be safe. Great
And
catching up.
hold on, and I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, informal but formal conversation about grief and growth.
Look at you. Look at you. A marketing campaign. Look at you. You're on fire. I'll see you.
See you later.